it's not just the money that you're going to make, which you will if you do it the right way, but more importantly, you're missing out on all the people that need help.
Yes. Welcome to the Agent Q&A. We got a couple of things to go over. Once again, my name is John. We got Albert. We got Joan in the house.
Hi, everyone.
So the topic for today is more about continuing the profitability and what high ticket sales can do for you into our business. So speaking of which, Albert just came off of a great sale, helping out an agent, across the state.
Yeah, she was out in Texas.
Out in Texas, brand new agent, barely knows anything, right? Not to say or take away from her, but the idea is the opportunity with FFL. It allows you, with the systems, the contracting that you're able to get, to just find these clients and help them out and get paid tremendously with it, right? So talk about that. Talk about the ability that we were able to help out, the ability of the agent finding the right clients, how they found it. Maybe we can get something out of that, and what changed for her lifestyle once this policy kicks in.
Well, there's this agent that reached out to me asking for help because I guess she saw some of my videos or someone introduced us. And then she was like, hey, I think I have an annuity, opportunity, but I don't know the first thing about it. I don't know how to present it. I don't know how to run an illustration, any of that stuff. So then I was like, just grab a copy of the statement, find out what their goals are here. I'll send you a list of questions so you can ask the client so we can figure out what product we can put this client into. So that started on the first one. And then she was like, okay. And then so they're like, the thing about her is like, she's not brand new. She's been around for a little bit, but she hasn't really found her niche yet.
Uh-huh.
So then, she hasn't had, she stated she didn't have very much money for leads. And, so she was in the business for a little bit, but just kind of directionless.
Right.
Okay. So then she found out about how annuities work. She realized that she actually had help. If she reaches out to people can actually help her for a small split or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So then, so I kind of gave her some, like, follow X, Y, and Z, follow these steps. She was okay, cool. She goes and grabs all this information. We do the first presentation. We were able to help do an annuity rollover, which the client had an existing 401k.
Mm-hmm.
It's been losing money. They pay fees on it. Hasn't really done anything positive in the last few years. So,
wow.
So we got an opportunity I ran an illustration. We got a chance to sit down with the client, virtually, we emailed it over to the client. I'm like, hey, let's look at this page. Here's how this is going to work compared to what you currently have. Went through the whole spiel, which took about maybe 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's pretty simple, straightforward, because the client already knew that they didn't like what they had it in. It's been losing money and just wasn't serving their retirement needs, really.
Okay.
So, I mean, all the credit goes to this agent. I don't want to say her name without having talked to her first, but
right.
All the credit goes to this agent because she asked that question. She just did a regular presentation on a regular lead. She asked the golden question, which is, hey, do you have life insurance? Which is the first question you ask. They say yes or no, whatever it is, you document it. Mm-hmm. Then you move on to the golden question, which is, now, do you have anything else that works like life insurance that's transferable to your estate upon your death?
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the clients don't understand what that means, and you kind of get the ball rolling and say, like a 401k, IRA, anything like that for your retirement portfolio. They'll be like, oh, I have this. And so at that point, you make a little note of it. Hey, by the way, how much do you have in there? And then just leave it alone. Go through your entire presentation, circle back around to it at the very end, which she's done a great job of doing so. So she did that for the first one. We got the presentation. We closed the annuity, and a few weeks later it issued. She got paid, and she was like, "This is the biggest check I've ever received." And I'm like, and that really made me happy. Like I don't even think about the money that I made off of it, because right. I took a small split. It was more to help get the ball rolling for this agent, and it just felt really great because then she told me, like, she hadn't made very much money here. She was behind on bills. But then with that one sale, she was able to catch up. She's able to invest into her business, be able to get more leads, and it's been great. And then to further give her more credit, the thing is, after that, she was hooked.
Yeah, felt the hype.
She saw that worth, and she was like, "Hey, is it okay if I continue to work with you, continue to use you, because I don't really know what I'm doing yet. I don't feel that comfortable with you." And I'm like, yeah, for as long as you want. I actually enjoy this aspect of it, because to be able to make a sale myself, it's cool. I mean, like,
Yeah.
It's what I'm supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
Like we've been in this business for this long. And we know the numbers. So if you talk to enough people, you'll make your sales. But to help a brand new agent or an agent that has been through their struggles and all of a sudden now they're making money at a different rate, it's the best feeling.
Yeah. The best thing about that too is, you know, when you're brand new, this is where you got to understand there's so much help available, but you just got to get in front of the client and you got to find these clients. And I was having a conversation with one of my agents, and they were just so busy trying to learn the products and details and what's the next step. And let me watch the next boot camp and let me do this. I said, dude, all this studying is not really going to get you paid. What gets you paid is getting in front of a client. Once you're in front of a client, give us a call. Ask us for help. You need an illustration, IUL, annuity, you know, you need a quote to help you out. We'll send you the quote. You need a conversation with your client and us, put us on a three-way. We'll help you out. So our job is to get you a sale, and your job is to get in front of somebody that can get you a sale. So we need to do presentations. So the number one thing you need to do is to be able to find a client. Okay. To find a client, what has that agent now that she's hooked, I've been doing to find these same type of clients?
Well, I mean, like the thing I want to give her credit for is like the fact that sometimes agents overthink things, or most of the time, most agents overthink things. So, you know, people don't want to ask or people forget to ask. But like for her, after that first one, that first positive experience with it, she just started asking everybody.
Yeah.
Like she number one, the normal process, or the most common process, is as you do your normal final expense or mortgage protection presentation, you just ask that golden question.
Right.
So, you know, you'll uncover money if they have it. They might bring it up, and then you can uncover it, and then just be like, hey, I'm gonna get back to you on this. You know, I'm gonna ask somebody else that knows more about it, or, you know, I'm gonna go do some research, and I'll come back, and, you know, in a week we'll present it. So with most agents, they don't even ask, and, you know, I'm guilty of this sometimes. Sometimes I forget to ask, you know, until as of recent. She actually got me to realize, you know, I'm missing out on this opportunity sometimes. Like,
money.
I'm not asking every single time. So now I ask every single time.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you uncover money, then you can go back and potentially, you know, get another opportunity. But even on top of that, you know, she just started thinking about people she knew, and she was like, oh, so-and-so used to work at this job, so maybe they have a 401k. So then she just started asking everyone at church. She started asking all her friends. She just started going door to door, asking like, you know, just saying, hey, I'm the neighborhood representative. You know, we're actually helping protect people's retirement. So do you have a 401k? Do you have anything set up? Blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's been hit or miss. You know, she's brought a lot of opportunities, and then some of them I'm like, yeah, that probably won't work. You know, that's not eligible to move, so on and so forth. But, you know, the thing is, that's like that type of enthusiasm and that type of just
Drive
and the eagerness to continue to learn and not overthink it, and just be like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there and not get rejected rejected. You know, like, I really applaud that type of effort. I really applaud that type of attitude. Like, it's like refreshing. I love working with people like that. It's really cool. It's really neat to see.
Yeah, the biggest thing for her, shoot, nothing is stopping her now, right?
Nothing.
She saw the money, she saw the success, and it's like, okay, how do I get more of this? And that's all it is. Any sale that you make, you're gonna have a good commission out of it. How do we get more? Right? So we got to ask for referrals. We got to ask every individual the same questions over and over, and just be consistent with it. From a new agent standpoint, though, let's say we have somebody that's never done any annuities. What are the proper steps? So first, we have to ask the question, you know, do you have anything else that acts like life insurance, any 401k, IRA? So let's say we uncover the money, right? From a new agent, what do they need to bring to the table to have an annuity director, a manager, to get help from? Okay, so what would you say is the first thing that they would need?
Well, the first thing is if they know who to. So you brought up something earlier about, you know, there's a lot of help out there, and people just don't ask.
Right.
Okay. But the thing is, on top of asking for help, you also have to submit, and you actually have to be humble about asking. Because a lot of times people come to me and be like, hey, I have this one opportunity. I know a lot about annuities already, and I already know how to do this. And then I'm like, trying to talk to them. They kind of overtalk what I'm saying. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. Or, you know, I tell them, hey, let's make sure that you're contracted first. You take care of all the trainings. So when you present it, you can actually sell it. They're like, yeah, well, my so-and-so really wants to see it right now. And I'm like, okay, well, they haven't had it for this long. They can wait a little bit longer. Like, let's get the stuff let's take it step by step and, handle all this stuff first. But I don't know. I don't know if it's because people are so excited about the opportunity, but I'm like, you're doing this so out of order. Like even if you were able to present it, you can't write it. Like, what do you want to do with this?
what's the rush?
Yeah. Or, I mean, yeah, or people just don't want to do the training or whatever the case is. And I don't know. I mean, so if you really want to receive help, first of all, you got to be in a position to receive it.
Right.
Like you got to just try to humble yourself for that moment, just for that one thing. Doesn't mean you got to be humble for everything, but just if you want someone's help, like position yourself to make people want to help you.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's that fear. I get this from agents a lot. They fear of looking dumb or looking unconfident or looking like they don't know what they're saying in front of the client. Well, guess what? You don't know anything. So why not just admit it? And then we get you the answer the right way. And then you learn from there.
And I think that's an underappreciated point. I think a lot of people think like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm not knowledgeable in front of the client. So then I've seen agents like lie, like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. And right? Or yeah, I've helped tons of people this way. And then I'm like, and you sound like that. And you don't know how to answer the basic questions. I'm like, which it's actually then you lose credibility with the client.
Yes.
And then they probably don't want to do business with you, because if I were the client, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But then, I've actually seen other agents who have been very humble about the situation and realistic. And they're like, I'm sorry, I'm new. I don't really know very much about it. And those clients almost always are way more understanding and sympathetic, and are way more willing to be patient with them, because at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah. And they give them leeway.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if an agent just took that humble approach and just accept the things that you don't know and be willing to ask for help, and then be willing to be honest with your client and just be like, hey, I may not know very much about this, but let me ask someone who does.
Right.
Or let me get an expert on for you. Let me do this. It'll take your career a lot further, and you'll get there a lot quicker, because you're not taking all these like shortcuts and trying to pretend you're the man and trying to pretend you know everything.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with an agent. Like, clients would know, if they sense a bluff, they'll smell your bluff. And then would you rather be called on that, or would you rather understand, okay, I don't know everything, let me get you the right answer?
Right. And if you guys don't want to take it for like a practical example, I mean, like, just imagine you're at a restaurant, which everyone's, I presume, has eaten at a restaurant. But then if you go to a restaurant and then the waiter or the waitress is just like, they don't know anything about any of the dishes you ask them about. They don't know today's specials. They don't know everything that you say, hey, does this have this in it? And they're like, yeah, I think so. And they're not very confident with it. It's like, this person doesn't care about their job, or they're new, which is okay.
The order.
So it's like, why would you want to come off that same way to your clients? Because I think agents don't recognize, if you don't know it, you don't know it, which is okay. But if you try to act like you're an expert, and then people know you're BSing.
Yeah, man. Your credibility is going to be shot with your competence real quick.
Yep.
So going back to that, the first step. So we got an agent, they uncovered the money. What do they need from the client to get an illustration, to have a follow-up appointment? What would be the first step?
Well, with my process is, if you come across an opportunity, which Joanne actually recently has
with her doctor, right?
Yeah.
So then just come and just be like, hey, I have an opportunity. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll run through the checklist mentally. I'll be like, hey, are you contracted with these carriers? Have you taken care of the state training? Have you taken care of the products trainings? And then here's a list of questions that you can go back and ask them to follow up.
Okay.
And then let them know we can set it up in a couple of days if you have all the training out the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a mental checklist, because I've done this so many times now. I'm like, I don't want to put the agent in an awkward position where we're able to present, but then they're like, oh, by the way, I can't write the application.
Can't do that.
Yeah. So then I'll walk an agent all the way through every step of the process. And then once they give me that information back, as far as the question, getting the answers for those questions, as far as what their retirement, plan looks like, what their overall portfolio looks like, then we can kind of gauge how quickly they'll need this money, what product to put them into, because some are built for liquidity, some are built for accumulation, some are kind of a hybrid. So we really want to tailor a plan that's appropriate for this client's retirement needs, because it's not one size fits all.
Right. So would you say it's good to, once you uncover the money, set up an appointment within not within a few days, maybe even just a week, right?
Yeah. A week is probably a good time. So this way we can kind of, it's not for me. I mean, I could do the illustration on the spot, but then the thing is, I just want to make sure we have enough time to get the agent through the whole contracting process and training and get all that administrative stuff out the way.
And then from Joanne's standpoint, when we get contracted with, FFL, AMS, or Simple Retirement Solutions, what is the fast turnaround time to get an annuity contract?
It just depends, I think. Yeah, it pretty much depends, but I would want to say anywhere from 7 to 10 days,
Okay.
excluding NLG.
So, for example, with an annuities with Athene, would you be able to, if you uncover the money today, book an appointment next week, be contracted within that time frame?
If everything goes by swiftly, I would say yes, but sometimes things pop up where it can take a little bit longer.
Also want to say, going back to the whole new agent thing, I mean, for a lot of times the contracting is held up because the agent didn't do everything on their part.
Right.
So it's not just like the carriers take a long time or Joanne's not caring about sending out your request.
Yeah.
Like we try to get everything done as soon as possible, but you got to give it a little bit of leeway. And more importantly, I think the training is what holds up most agents, because sometimes I've had a lot of agents reach out, say like, hey, I have an annuity opportunity. When can we set up this appointment with the client? I'm like, have you done the training? Have you done this and that? And then never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And I get it, because the training part's not fun.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of material, so it's a little dry.
Yeah.
So, people get, giving up, which you can't give up because it's a huge opportunity.
You got to understand, it's an advanced market. Clients are giving you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got to have a little bit of certification to be able to move that money. You don't just say, hey, yeah, we can do that. That's it. Don't do anything.
So yeah, take a little pride, be a professional about it, get your training out the way. So that would be the first steps. And then after we get all the administrative stuff out the way, at that point, after they ask the questions, they bring the answers back, then I'll be able to run an illustration for them. I'll put that together and I'll email it over to them, and I'll say like, hey, go set an appointment with the client. Let me know when they're free, and then we'll get on a call together, which we've been able to do a lot of them strictly over the phone. Like even if the agent's in another state, the agent, the client's in a different state, we can do Zoom, but telephones actually just work because I send the client the illustration, and I'll be like, hey, let's go through this together. And then I'm like, why don't you open up to this page here? Let's go to this page. Let's go to this page. Let's look at these numbers. And it's worked really well. So
7 to 10 days, book an appointment. You get back the feedback of, I would say having a statement or enough information about the money they're able to roll over. We create an illustration, present the illustration on Zoom, preferably if not on the phone.
Yeah.
And do you close on the spot? Does the client the agent close on the spot, or they do another follow-up?
Well, in those situations when I help an agent, because a lot of times they're like, oh, hey, they're probably, this is my friend, they're probably gonna want to think about it. I'm like, no, we're going for this in one shot.
Yeah.
And it's for a couple reasons. Number one, out of straight practicality, because we've had to get 3 people together at minimum. So the thing is for us to organize another time, may not be as practical, but more importantly, with almost every sale, especially in the life insurance industry, the thing is it's a pretty simple, straightforward plan.
Yeah.
They'll know whether or not they need it. They'll know whether or not they can afford it. In this situation with an annuity rollover, it's not whether or not they can afford it, because they already have an existing lump sum of money.
Right.
So
It's
all we're
not a
doing
cost.
all we're doing is rolling
Rolling
it over. They're not paying it monthly going forward, and all that stuff. So
Yeah. And not just that part, but once you do an application, it's not exactly set in stone, right? Once you do an application, it has to pass suitability from Athene.
Right.
Then we have to wait for the money to transfer the funds from the original premium where it's coming from,
Right.
which can take another few days,
couple
to
days
weeks.
to a couple of weeks. I mean, for a lot of agents, that's their hesitancy. Like they're just like, well, I don't know if we're going to close them on this one, and I'm like, trust me, we're going to close them on this one, because why wouldn't we?
Right.
Because like number one, there's also the part of, look, it makes a lot of sense to them right now because it's fresh in their mind. We just explained it to them.
Mhm.
The intensity of the buyer is high at this point, because they understand everything, but I'm able to paint the picture for them and ask the right questions and get them to think about what happens next if they don't have this, right?
Right.
And then if we say like, okay, cool, does everything sound good? Okay, we'll call you back next week to do the application,
Doesn't make sense.
or we'll do it a month from now or whenever. Then they've had time to kind of cool off, and they start overthinking it. Then most importantly, they start thinking about irrational things that may not even be true about this product, because they're not on the phone with an agent that's able to explain to them whether or not this is true. Right. So if I can address all their questions, overcome all of their objections, which for the most part, there's not too many objections, because they already know what they have it in. It's not ideal for them.
Yeah.
They want to move it. And
Yeah.
then we present a solution, tell them, explain, break it down to them how it works, show them some rough numbers, go through, how it looks like down the line, how it's helped other clients, all these different things. That makes it a pretty easy case for them to be like, okay, that makes sense to me. Let's go ahead and move this. And then I'll present the whole thing. And then at the end, I'll be like, okay, so-and-so is going to take the application from you now. Here's the next process. It goes through a process called suitability.
Mhm.
There's no underwriting. So your health conditions actually don't really apply in this situation, which for most clients, they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
So that gives them a sense of relief. Then I tell them about the suitability process. Hey, we're not going to move any money today, which is part of the reason why it's easy to close on that spot, because a lot of times people may say like, hey, I want to think it over. I'm like, perfect. You're going to have some time anyway.
Right.
Because the thing is, the company still has to first accept you.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, why wouldn't they accept me? Right. And I'm saying, well, because there's a process called suitability. There's no underwriting, as I mentioned, but they got to make sure that you have other income to live off of. You have enough assets, and this isn't tying up all of your money, because they don't want this to be a detrimental thing to you where it puts you in a negative financial position and
Mhm.
ties up all your money, because it defeats the purpose for everybody. So, if we're able to clear suitability on that, which you got to be patient with us, it takes anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks, depending on how backed up they are. And if there's anything missing, your agent or myself will call, we'll give you a call. We'll get on the information so we can complete it. And then once it's approved, we'll let you know everything's still good to go. We'll do the transfer.
Simple.
Gives them some time.
And then if you do the application correctly, we always advise you guys using Firelight with FFL AMS. Suitability, I just did one. Suitability finished in like 2 to 3 days. It's quick. And then so really when it comes down to an annuity, the timing that takes the longest is the transfer of funds. Either Athene or the agent or the client has to request it from the source. The source will then process the timing and whatnot, fees or paperwork or signatures needed to transfer it over. And then within about a few days to a week, it's all processed and done.
But this is also why you want to reach out for help. I remember my first few annuities. I'm like, everything was like Greek. I'm like, they're like, hey, you need this form, and you need to talk to this and the medallion. And
I remember that.
I'm like, I don't even know what any of that means. But then after you go through a few of them, you're like, everything starts to make sense, because you start getting more and more context. And you're like, okay, so whatever the question is, no matter how complex it may be, I just think, okay, well, what's the bottom line? What do they really want? Well, what do they want to drive at?
Yeah.
So then at that point, then we can kind of reverse engineer, we can figure it out, go from there. So.
Do you have any hesitancies, any closing advice or any objections that you have to overcome at the end from the client standpoint?
I think for some of them, they'll just say like, it's kind of a lot of money I'm moving. I just want to do my research. I want to think about it a little bit.
Right.
And then for me, I'm always like, cool, you have time anyway, because we can't even move the money right now. So, here's the process. I walk through that suitability process, and I'll say like, if you have questions along the way, we're your agents. Give us a call, reach out to us, because we're here to work for you. And then another common objection is that they'll say like, hey, I want to talk to my advisor about this.
Mm.
And I'm like, you're free to do whatever you want. But the thing is, here's the difference, with an annuity, it's self-directed, it tracks along with an index, that of our choice.
Right.
I'm not gonna say it's their choice, because we're helping them with that.
Mm.
But then there's no fees, with if you talk to an advisor, for sure, they're 100% going to tell you not to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're bad people, or not because, they necessarily can't even help you. It's just because it behooves them. It's their job to manage your money.
Yeah.
If they say like, go ahead and move it to that other product, they no longer have your assets under their management. And
Right.
They get less fees, they get less commissions, they get less whatever. And that's their whole livelihood, which, if we go back to Warren Buffett, he always talks about every 7 years, an index product will always beat whatever an individual investor will do,
Right.
whatever they select. And people can be good, but just overall, you can't beat the security and the diversification of an index fund.
Yeah. So common objections, easily done. And the sales process, it's not like I would say a high emotional sale type compared to a final expense or mortgage protection. Would you say it's a more logical sale? Like, we're sitting down because you feel that you're already losing money, so we're offering you a solution where you're not going to lose money. What else is there to think about? Even if you had a financial advisor, your financial advisor is not doing his best. He's still getting paid whether he made you money or he lost you money.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And then couple of the questions that we used to play up all the time when we were asking the clients is like, have you lost money in this? If they have it in their existing 401k or IRA or variable product, whatever it may be,
Uh-huh.
like what would that ask? Have you lost money? And then like they'll be like, yeah. And then we're like, yeah, we hate losing money. Right? Or when you say, do you pay fees on this? And then they'll say yes, or they may not even know.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if someone's managing for you,
Yeah.
they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. You know, it's their job. They're getting paid for it. So you are paying a fee. If we move into this product, if it makes sense to you based off of everything else that we're able to show you the benefits of, the thing is you don't have to worry about losing money anymore, and you don't have to worry about fees. So, you know, generally for most products, let me just add that caveat, but
yeah.
For most clients, it's like we eliminated two of their major concerns: losing money and paying fees.
It can only go up. So that's the best part.
Yep.
So that's pretty much all the information that we have for high ticket sales. So we'll lead off to the final part with Joanne. So you have a doctor, you said, right?
Yeah.
So what's the next step, do you think, where you're at within the whole sales process?
Well, honestly, I am at the point where like I just need to get contracted. Yeah.
So administrative side.
I'm on the administrative side, yeah. But going back to what we were talking about, the script.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been using Albert's script to be able to like ask
The right
people
questions.
the right questions, and yeah, people typically answer right off the bat. So I think it's really easy to.
What are the things that
figure it out.
highlighted to the doctor that appealed to him with the questions you asked? What question?
How did you come across it in the first
How did I
place?
Cross that. Well, I took my kid in for physical.
Okay.
Basically. And then he just asked me like, oh, hey, like, what are you doing now? And then I just told him like, oh, I'm in financial services and life insurance. And then he was like, oh, nice. Well, like, I need to talk to you because I've been losing money on my 401k then. And I was like, oh, nice. I was like, I have the perfect product for you. You know, I was like, yeah, we should definitely talk about it. And so he was like, okay, just make sure that this is in person. And like, I'm open to talking to you. And I was like, all right, cool. So then I talked to Albert a little bit about like, more or less what I should be asking him or what I should do. And then he was just like, well, do you have Thune? And I was like, not yet. Yeah. And it's been like such a headache for me, but honestly, and I was even thinking about like, I'm obviously going to follow back up with him and just let him know where I'm at with that, you know, to kind of just follow up with them. But I think that just asking the question, even if like, I don't know much about annuities, I don't know anything about IULs, or even to be honest with you guys, I don't even know like products we have. Like all I know is that I have carriers and I can cover everybody. So
It's a
that's all I need
concept.
to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just like ask Albert, you know, I'm like, hey, like I'm talking to somebody like this, and this. And if I can't really quickly find the answer on like the on the sheets that I have pulled up with like some facts and stuff, like my cheat sheets, then I just like send him a quick text, you know.
Gotcha.
And
So
I'm
that's
responding, right?
you are. Yeah. And I really appreciate that because I think, but then also like I keep it in mind, like even if he is busy, like I'm okay with like going to the group chat. Like that's why we have the group
Yes.
me. That's why we have other agents. We have the live dials. So there is like definitely anywhere that you can go for answers. But I think asking the right question, just opening up like that dialogue to them and giving them like the just giving them like the information that you do offer this product and you do have a solution for them if they have, you know, if they have these the 401k or their IRAs, whatever they have going on. So
Yeah. Simple questions, concept
Yeah.
questions, right? Like, okay, doctor said I'm losing money. Simple follow-up questions. You want to stop losing money?
literally.
We got a product for you.
Yeah.
That's it. Do
Yeah.
you need to know the full details, the jargon, the S&P, the
Yeah.
indexes, percentages, participation rate? You don't need all that. It's like,
Yeah.
we have a way where we can stop the
Yeah,
bleeding.
and the way that I also told him was like, and I even had like this other person I talked to on the phone, and he is about to retire, and then I have another call with him, but he's kind of more, his birthday's coming up, so he's like, I need to take care of this before my birthday comes up. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get a theme through, but if it doesn't come through, then we'll see, you know, but he does need to get covered. So yeah, just like I just go back and ask Albert, like he's my person to ask. So.
Which is good.
Yeah. So I think
We have the
yeah,
resources.
overall, yeah, I think that's what kind of made it a lot easier for me to kind of like step back into insurance, like knowing that if I have a question, anybody can answer me. That just feels good for me.
Yeah, because the thing about asking the right questions when you need help it could take your career a really long way. And because the thing is, you don't need to know all the answers. You just have to know how to be resourceful.
Right.
And then if you don't have resources around you, the number one, you have to try to figure that out first, because, and it's not like, hey, look, no one owes you anything, first of all, so the thing is, if you want to get help from people, ask yourself, what would make someone want to help me?
Yeah. And
then the thing is, and for me personally, for all the people that ask me for help, I don't really expect anything in return, but I do want them to be humble. Because like if they come in like, hey, I already know everything about this, but how would you do this? And I'm like, I still won't refuse them, but I'm like, I don't enjoy helping that person.
Yeah.
But for the people who says like, hey, I really don't know anything about this, but my client wants this, blah, blah, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna spend extra time with you. Like, let's figure it out. So,
ask in the right way.
Yeah.
And we also had this one former coworker. Everything was always like, when they didn't know how to do something, they're like, well, how come no one ever told me that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it their job to tell you that? Like, isn't this your business? Isn't this like, and how do you further your career? Because it's like, no one's gonna be sitting around like, hey, I'm gonna get a checklist of Joanne and make sure she knows everything before she's ready. It's like, no, it's her responsibility to serve her clients. And if she can't do it herself yet at that certain point, she can reach out.
Yeah.
And that's a very fair system.
I remember that one coworker. I gave her a very, very detailed answer that she needed to do in math on, and I kept on doing it on purpose.
John totally trolled her. Because like she was asking for like specific, and then John made her do the work. He like, it's basically like the
the old rate sheets and rate numbers and stuff. Where's this at? It's on the bottom of page 26. You see that formula? You do the math on that part.
Yeah. Well, you know what? But in all fairness, like sometimes it's necessary for the agents to like learn to do it themselves and
sometimes
to kind of get that.
They want just the answer instead of help.
And that's exactly that case.
Exactly. But I'm sure that, I don't know, maybe I hope that person fucking learned.
No, they complained about it the next day in the office. I'm all like, yeah, I did that on purpose.
Well, I mean, it is a good lesson because that agent should know how to do that kind of stuff, especially if it's something that's going to come up in their business over and over.
Just like
but John was in that particular situation, knew what she was going through and knew that she didn't want to learn, so he kept trolling.
Man, she was like 7 years into the business, man. It's like the basics of the basics questions. Those are fun times. You want to be difficult? We could be difficult. That's pretty much all we have. Any last questions, concerns, inputs before we wrap up? I know Pierce just came on.
Pierce just came on and we're getting off.
We're about to get off. Yeah.
Well, I just want to wrap this up by saying, if you're not asking for annuities in every single house, or at least asking for the opportunity, you're missing out on a ton of opportunity. It's not just the money that you're going to make, which you will if you do it the right way, but more importantly, it's that you're missing out on all the people that need help.
Yes.
And the thing is, if you don't ask, you don't tell people what you do, you don't market yourself, they won't know how to ask you the questions. And if you don't ask other people, they won't know that what products you have to offer them or what services you have to offer them. And just look at it this way. I mean, I think we have a real competitive advantage in a lot of ways, being the type of agents that we are, being in life insurance and, working with fixed index annuities and these type of products. For a lot of people, if you told them, hey, why don't you go talk to this financial advisor, talk to this, financial, what's the other word? Advisor, planner, all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are probably going to be intimidated, right? Or a lot of people think like, it's going to cost me a lot of money.
Right.
When in reality, like with our products, with a fixed index annuity, you just let the client know, like, hey, you're not really going to be paying anything to this. We're just taking what already have existing, and we're going to do a simple rollover into that. And then they'll say, like, what's your commission? I'm like, the company pays me. If I do the right job, I'll get paid. Nothing. You keep all your money. None of that, comes out of yours. In fact, you'll probably get a bonus depending on what type of product you put into.
And the consultation is free.
Yeah.
Just meeting with an advisor costs you money. Yeah. So I would say, I'm wrapping up with this. We're great at final expense. We're great at mortgage protection. But if you want to see a 5-figure check, you got to sell an annuity. You don't get a 5-figure
in a one-shot deal.
Yeah, in a one-shot deal. You don't get a 5-figure check on like smaller sales with final expense and mortgage protection.
Yeah. And get addicted like that agent.
Yep. Get you a 5-figure check and keep on going.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. See you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.